Hi, everyone. My name is Zarski. I'm one of the consultants with CARC, and I have the pleasure of working with Maryann, who's going to introduce herself, and she's a fantastic teacher. So we are so blessed to have her working with us today on this project.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Yes, I'm Maryann Baden. I've been teaching for 20 years with Star Catholic, and I feel quite honored to be part of these math kits.
So I had an opportunity to work with Maryann for the whole year, this past school year, and we dabbled a bit with some of the new curriculum as well. And one of the greatest suggestions she came up with is it'd be great if we had a kit, and I'll let you, she'll explain that as she goes on a little bit about why that thinking came up. And so that's what we've created. We've created a kit that goes along with the new math curriculum. It's suggested only. This is not a required have to have it because I'm teaching the new curriculum. This is just things that we found would make life a little bit easier if it was contained in a really fast to grab area. And so that's what we're going to share with you today. And you may have lots of these in your classroom already. So we will show you some suggested places to go and purchase things if you need to buy them. But if you have those things already, feel free to use whatever you have and obviously add in whatever would work for you with your situation. So as we mentioned, this will be just a suggested list of things that we're going to show you. This will be posted in a website that you'll have access to anytime that you need to rewatch it or you just want to see what was in some of the kits. And you will have an access to materials that are suggested in here at the end of the presentation as well. So we're going to look at the contents of our kit that we created. We're going to take just a bit of a closer look in the sense that Maryann will talk a little bit, both of us will, but Maryann will talk a little bit about why we chose some of the things that went into that kit and what made it a little bit more helpful to have it readily available. And then, like I said, some suggested sites, certainly not exclusive and not that we're promoting them in any way, shape, or form. So I'll turn it over to Maryann just to kind of step us through a little bit about some of the contents. This is only one slide that you're going to see, but these are some of the main contents that you find in here.
This is just a kit that we've been putting together as we've been using it in class. I did the money with the kids and we put a set amount up there and we used the little paper bags to kind of show a shopping experience. The kids got a kick out of that. So we made those kits and they have them at their desk to use. So that kind of gave us the idea that what are some other things we could put in there. We did put in the multiplication and division cards so the kids can review and practice. We've also put in the multiplication chart. The students coming into grade 3 should know these facts, but we do need to review. We also have the algebra cards where there's missing facts, and those are based on multiplication and division. We also have a benchmark for a right angle. So the green card there, we're using that to benchmark a 90-degree angle. So on the small angle and as well as the whole card. We have subitizing cards, which are always handy for kids to work with a partner or on their own. We have some foam shapes to help them with their fractions as well as symmetry, so they can fold and refold those and looking at the different shapes. We also have a card put in there that Chris does have on the site. And it's just some wording on there. When the kids are working with word problems, there's some suggested words that we can use for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So that just kind of gives them a guide. We also have the dice in there. So we have the 3 different colored dice. Some of the games and things that are included in the math, they need their own set of dice. The wooden dice there, they are going up to 100,000. So we have 2 that are in the thousands and 2 in the 10,000s. So the kids can use those to help them with their place value.
Okay.
And Also the role at the top of the slide, we will show you that in more detail as we go. All right, so here we have a small pack of dominoes, which are good for all different kinds of things. We found this pack, it's small enough to fit in the kit so the kids can have their own. We've also included a clock for telling time, but also I found that my kids were quite often looking at the classroom clock when we were counting by fives, or if they were doing their 5 times multiplication. So we thought that would be handy in the kit so they could have their own. And again, we have a hundreds chart in there. The hundreds chart is from 1 to 120. So they can see how it progresses past 100. And again, those are good for grade 3s this year, since we're reviewing with our new curriculum. We also have the greater than and less than signs that you could use in class, or they can do on their own with their dominoes or whichever. A pack of playing cards. Teachers, those are always our favorites. We can always think of so many things to do with the playing cards. As well as we put in a measuring tape that is showing imperial as well as metric. The nice thing about this tape that we found, it does color code a decimeter. So we found that that would be handy for them when they're comparing, as well as a number line. We have this number line here. It goes to 120. The kids, we use it in class for many different things, for money or just plotting. We use a dry erase marker. That way the kids can reuse them. I even had some kids using it to help them with their addition and subtraction. So with it being in there, they can use it as they need. Yeah, like I was saying before, the kids really enjoyed the money. So this is just from a classroom kit of money that we had, and we just made little bags. So there's a set amount in there. However, sometimes it's nice to throw in an extra coin to make sure that they're actually counting. And then we have the classroom money kit at the back of the classroom, and we kind of use it like the bank. So if the kids need any other money in their kits, any coins or anything, they can come and trade it from the bank, and that gives them a chance to count out change and such as well.
And having that in a bag is so much better than having us to go around and just continuously put handfuls of money on the desk. So this was a real time saver by putting it into the bags. That made a huge difference for us. So that's just one time saver tip that we really want to share with you. The subitizing cards, Maryann already mentioned, they're really valuable, but I would really emphasize that these are things that are not specific to primary. A lot of people think that they're really kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, maybe, and then it stops. And in fact, these should go all the way up to junior high, high school. Since we're going into a new curriculum with grade 3 and multiplication facts are going to be huge, subitizing is an important aspect and step in getting to math facts, whether it's addition, subtraction, and then moving forward to multiplication and division. So the more they do of this, if they had 5 minutes a day where they're just doing even war games, turn the cards over, call the number out, pull 2 cards over, what do they add up to? What do they multiply to when they get to that point? So these are really, really important for us to make sure that students have access to. And in grade 3, you can run them off and certainly they can cut their own ones out. That's good practice for them as well. And then just putting them in a Ziploc bag as well. And these are the cards that Maryann was talking about. We just have these in a plastic bag, and these could be used for review. As she said, they could be used as indicators if you were having them decide whether pulling up 2 dominoes, turning them over, and maybe the addition, the product of them, because they're going to be doing lots of multiplying to 100 in grade 3, which is greater, which is less, and depending on what you want them to do. So again, these are pieces that are just there for information, could be good review. They just turn it over. They have to tell a friend, shoulder partner about what that means. So you're being selective as to what it is that they're pulling out. And we just have those in a plastic Ziploc bag. And those will be found for you at the end of the presentation. And one of the other suggestions that I think we could easily do, and remember, we want to get kids out of their desk, not just sitting all day. So the more we can engage them actively, the money is a great one for sure. We can even put signs around the room, and Maryann can share that maybe just when I'm done here about what she did at Christmas time with them. But I think hula hoops are another sort of not used well tool that's very cheap that we can put into schools. And we can use them for all different outcomes in our curriculum. So, you know, you could even give them this at grade 3, since they've already done patterning. You could give them this as a diagram and ask them, what's the rule for the yellow circle? What's the rule for the red circle? How did these ones in the middle get there? This one's hard to read, but what I had here, I wrote it on top. On this circle here is money that's less than 80 cents. So you just give them a random handful of money. And over here, we have this circle is money that's larger than 25 cents, but divisible by 5, right? So again, depending on what you give me, I can have some things that are going to be common numbers that are in between and divisible by 5 as well. Just endless ways. And a Venn diagram is proven with research to be the highest order of critical thinking that we can offer students as a quick, engaging activity. So the more we use it, the more we make them think outside the box. So maybe, Maryann, if you want to just chat a little bit about what you did with money before we leave and go on to this terminology one. She had a great way of getting the kids engaged in money and using it at Christmas time. So I'll just let you share that.
What I did is I had a sheet that had different toys and things that kids like to buy, and everything had a price on it. So what I had the kids do is they had to make a Christmas list buying things for their family and friends, and they could only spend $100. So with the cards that we had, they had, like, for example, there was a teddy bear that they could get for $10, a card game, different things. And so the kids had a lot of fun buying for their family. They had to figure out the math to see how much it would cost, how much the change would be from $100. And then another fun thing we did at the end is, if they had money left over, what would they do with it? Would they buy themselves something? So that's getting into the thinking, using money and its value. So the kids had so much fun with that.
And so we want to keep in mind, I know this is a transition year, and grade 3 is one of the bigger transition starts. We keep in mind that we're going to 100,000 this year. So clearly we're not going to be spending 100,000, but we need to give context to what 100,000 looks like. So you're going to be having students coming into your class that are just really working on 100, and normally would be going to 1,000. So we're going to be doing a little bit of fast tracking, and certainly starting with 100. So money to $100 is going to be really important for them to start with. And the fact that they need to learn money. Don't assume that your students know the money. So you're going to have to spend some time maybe borrowing from the kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2 teachers, some of the resources that we have in store for them that just center around money identification and basic facts that they can use with that before we even engage in that. But money is a great way for us to get to that 100, that 1,000, that 10,000, that 100,000. So keeping that in mind as well. Okay, Maryann, do you want to talk to us a little bit about the terminology card?
Yes, I found this useful when kids are working on word problems. The biggest question is, what operation do I do? So this card was used just to help them with some of the terminology when they're reading a word math problem. It kind of gives them a hint of what operation they need to do by the words that are in the problem.
Yeah, great little review cheat sheet for them, for sure.
Yeah.
And these two, do you want to talk to these as well?
Like the 100 chart I was saying, we had it go, we use the one that's from 1 to 120. That way they can kind of see what happens after 100. I find that some of the kids, when they come to grade 3, they're kind of confused. They know the pattern, they've repeated it, but they're just not sure that what happens when it turns to 100. So we wanted to put that in there. I do find that kids at the beginning grade 3 are still using a hundreds chart for adding and subtracting. So just so they can feel comfortable and successful, to put that in so they have a reference. And the multiplication chart. A lot of kids don't know how to use it coming to grade 3. So it's a good lesson to teach them how to use multiplication chart for multiplying, but also to show them that we can use the multiplication chart to divide, so that they can use it for both.
Yeah, for sure. And you may have some of those in your class that you already use, and that doesn't mean you have to go out and get something new because you want to put a kit together. Just use whatever's available. And there's lots of these on the internet that you can pretty easily download. It's not like you have to go out and buy something for it either. The cards that you're seeing here, this is one of these slides that we're showing you where you could purchase. These were just some that I was able to pick up, but that doesn't mean that you would have to use them here. There's lots of other places that you can find these as well. So there were division cards, there were multiplication cards, and these are double-sided. So if they're doing it sort of as a shoulder partner, the question that the student on the other side is seeing is 8 times 10, and the student that's holding the card up for them has the answer in front of them. So it does make it somewhat equitable for students, even if I don't have a good understanding of facts and I wouldn't know them all. I have the answer in front of me. So it does allow for every child to be able to participate. They also had cards at Staples that had time as well as money. So we split out the time ones here. The times have either clock faces on them or the digital version. And since they're doing both of those in grade 3, those would be helpful to have. Again, you don't necessarily have to buy them. You could download them, or you may already have some of those that are available. Dollar Tree offers some things that other stores didn't, and as you would find, Dollarama is the other dollar store that everybody seems to know about. They all have very similar things, but not identical. So it's a matter of sort of finding what it is you want to purchase. But the dominoes that you can get at Dollar Tree are the colored ones. That doesn't mean that a plain black and white one wouldn't work. It would absolutely work, but this has the potential of being used for other things than to when I have color. And as Maryann had mentioned, we on the back side of this is where you saw the right angle. Here we're showing the sides that are parallel and the sides that would be perpendicular, because those are words that they're going to be working on. And then these come in sets of 4. So again, you're not buying one per child, you're buying for a number of students. And these come in sets of 50. So there's lots in there that you could use. If you've never purchased cards before or don't have playing cards, you can go to a local casino if you have one and approach them and tell them it's for school. A lot of times they'll just give them to you for free because they're only allowed to use them once. And at the very least, they may charge you 25 cents. Like, it's not a big cost, but I would talk to them first and just tell them that you're doing some things for kids in class, and they'll probably give them to you for free. So Maryann, do you want to talk about this one? Because you did reference it.
Right. So the measuring tape, we found the one that had imperial and metric on both. So make sure that when you're buying them, because I have found some that were metric on both sides. We did like this one in particular because it does color code the decimeters. So the kids can see the groups of 10 on there, which was really nice.
Yeah, it is. It's a great one. The downfall of these, though, I can point out to you, is that unfortunately they don't run in the same direction. So you're not seeing 1 centimeter and 1 inch back to back. They don't necessarily all run that way. So because you are going to be doing conversions, and just to alleviate any huge concerns, this is not conversions with any kind of formula of any kind. This is basic conversion. So we're asking students to be aware of and be able to measure in imperial. So they need to understand what an inch is, and they need to be able to measure in centimeters. But when we're talking about a conversion, we might say, how much is 1 inch in centimeters? So really, if we can have a ruler that has both units on it, where they could just literally take another ruler or a piece of paper and just run it up to see that it's about 2.5 centimeters for 1 inch, that's the kind of conversion that we're talking about. So these are not readily available. We got these from the internet, And the nice part of it is that they are each facing in the same direction. Usually they're upside down and 0 on this end and 0 on this end. So that doesn't help you much. So in this case, you've got one on one ruler, or you could have them as two separate. You can cut them apart and just have the students slide them up and put them that way. Whatever works best for you is what you want to go with. So we have these in the website that you'll be able to access later, that you can go down. This is more of a teaching one that you might want to use on the board just to start them off, to introduce what an inch is. Notice how much bigger it is when we're used to centimeters. And then we could have that conversation about that. It's just a little bit more than 2.5, not much, but a little bit. So this is your teaching one that you could just download and project on the screen if that's what you wanted to do. And this was an attempt to do a lot of things. One of them was to make the notion of what does 100,000 even look like for a student? Because remember, you're covering a lot of ground this year that you didn't cover before. So going to 1,000 was a bit of a task already for some students, but to try and imagine what 100,000 looks like is going to be a little bit onerous for students. And so what we did is we took adding machine tape, literally just sort of unrolled it down the hallway and took a meter stick and marked off the first 100 centimeters. And you're seeing them here, and we've marked them off, going up to 100. But then we also put money on here because I'm going to just emphasize again, the more you can do money first, before you do a lot of other things, do money and use money as your manipulative so that kids have a context and get a visual of that. Then it helps to transfer their thinking to even a number line. So as Maryann said, with the number line, they sometimes used it for money. So instead of marking 10, we might have marked 10 cents. So they're counting by increments of 1 penny, or maybe each line became 10 cents, and then this became a loonie or a dollar, etc. So we did this, rolled it all the way down, and then after the 1 meter was marked, and you'll see that we started to increment them then by hundreds, we went into thousands, 10,000, so that they get a sense that what if the first meter was actually 1,000? Then when I get to the end, it will be 10,000. What if the first meter was 10,000? Like, how do I get them to 100,000? So they have a sense. And so at halfway would be 500 centimeters, 500 cents, $5, if that's what you wanted to do, 5,000, 50,000, and then at the very end, 100,000. So each of the meters were marked off, but we didn't do all of the centimeters in between so that kids can actually see. And then you could give them a number card. You could say, at random, I'm just going to grab a number out of the bag, and you just walk down the aisles and they have numbers like 729 and 256, whatever. And you could have this thing rolled out and you could actually just say, where would you put your card? There's a great estimation and a great way for them to show you that they have a good understanding of where's the halfway mark between two numbers, between 400 and 500. Where's the halfway mark? And you gave me 479. Where would I place that? So it gives you a good sense if they understand the number line itself. And each student could do one of these. We initially did them with library tape and just ran the library tape down. But in hindsight, when we did them again, we actually laminated them, and you could run 5 or 6 of them easily through at the same time and just laminate them. Much simpler and a whole lot faster. There's a little bit of trimming, but you know what? Kids can do that too. Okay, want to talk about these wooden blocks are great because this gives you a chance to make a dice of your own. And I'm going to get Maryann to talk about these in just a second. They came from Dollarama. You can get colored ones at Dollar Tree, but there's no advantage to color in this particular case. So we just stayed with the wooden ones because they were cheaper and you got more of them for $1.50. So was the way to go. So you want to talk about what you put on each one of these, because you see some of them have hundreds and some of them are both tens, but they're actually not identical. So I'll just turn it over to Maryann.
So we use the 2 different dice for the 10 place value. We use the 2 dice. So we made sure that it went from 10 to 90. Then we did the hundreds dice, and we made sure that we had 100 to 900 on there. And then the 1,000 dice had 1,000 to 9,000. And then the 100,000s we put 1 to 90,000 on those. So
Right.
that way, when the kids are doing place value or anything, then they can line those up and recognize the number.
You bet. And this one, just so that you know, there are some repetitions, but again, you could differentiate, because what if you have a child who's just not ready to go beyond 50 or 60? So this first die starts at 10, goes to 60. This one will go from 40 to 90. So there's different levels that you could put in there. If you wanted them to be able to regroup, then you might want to use this one. If they're not ready to regroup, you might go with the lower ones each time. So the same thing happens with the 100. So 1 to 600, and then 400 to 900. Just so that you have options that you could use for the students. If you've got multicolored dies, you could use this as well. You could just change their dies and make them 5 different dice, right? And what is the number that gets written out? Give them what the rule is, that this is the ones, this is the tens, hundreds, and so on, and see how that goes from there. Oh, I should go back to this. Dollarama, this is where we actually bought the tubs that we used. We tried a bunch out to see what fits in cubby holes and what fits in desks. And this is one size that seemed to just match for everything and contain, it was able to hold everything that we wanted. So I'll show you this slide or a slide later that shows you exactly what the size is, and you can just write that one down. And this is an app that's free. You have it here. You can just click it on, even though you're watching a video. I've given you 3 different screenshots of this app. And what it does is it allows you to create a number line of any size that you want, with any increments that you want, with any values, or having missing values. And then you just give them a few and students have to fill in. So it could be used as a formative. It could be used as a summative as well. And the nice part of it is it's pretty easy and quick to do, that you could actually do 3 or 4 or 5 different versions, so that not every child sitting next to their partner would have the same version, same test level, but not necessarily the same version. You can also cover up. You can put numbers on and you can cover them up and ask them what's missing. What are the numbers that are hidden behind here that I should be seeing? And then when they're actively into this, they can actually pull it away and see if their numbers are correct. So there's lots of places. I'm just going to go into this one quickly. So you have these options in here. At the bottom, you can see that this is where I'm at. I'm at the number line right now. So I can choose to have a number line that has no numbers on it. I can have decimal numbers, fractions on it, depending on where you're at in your curriculum. You can increase decrease the width between them, or increase, depends on what you want to do. And you can have the starting at any value. So again, as we're getting up into those numbers, right, when we're getting into closer to 1,000, then we want to go from 1,000 to 10,000. I can start them someplace randomly. It could be 9,257. Now finish it off, right? Or skip count by 2s, or whatever it is you want them to do. You have flexibility. You can also use this and say, I'd like to know what am I skip counting by? So I can change whatever values I want. I can move it to whatever I want. I can type in here. I can put in, let's see here. Let's put in skip. Hey, skip count by 5. So they would now go ahead and do the next one. And kids can actually access these and bring them up themselves, or you can put them there and tell them. But if you put it up there, it's going to tell them where the end part is, so you're not going to see it. But again, because you're going to 100,000, this is a great number system because it gives you flexibility to go in and change the values to whatever you need to do. So these are the files now that you'll be able to print. So here are the cards that we've shown you. We've also given you a card which has counting from 901 to 1,000, just again to make sure that they understand the process. This could have been 800 to 900, it wouldn't matter. We just randomly sort of chose some of these numbers just to get them over that, because we have to go beyond 1,000. Your other symbols that you have, this is what it looks like completely filled up, and you just simply plop the plastic lid on top. And here's the size that we used, and it came from Dollarama. There's all different ones. Dollar Tree has different ones, and obviously you can buy wherever you want. You're looking for a plastic container that basically fits on a child's desk that's not going to take up the whole desk. We want something that's easy and quick to get in and out. Could they share a kit? Possibly. You need to decide what works best for you. And I've also included in here, because money is going to be a huge component that they need to get caught up on first. So a lot of people are starting in grade 3 with money, just to not starting with just money to know the money, but using it to knock off a few outcomes right at the beginning of the year. But it's going to be important for them to know that, because you can't have the financial literacy component of your health and wellness even begin until they have a good sense of money. I can't do a budget. I can't go out and buy anything if I don't even know the names of the coins and how to navigate the values of them. So instead of doing place value with your base 10 blocks, use money to start with. 5 pennies equal, or 10 pennies equals a dime. If you have a nickel here, then 5 pennies. So you can use that to get them into the mode of and reviewing how I'm going to regroup. And then when I get base 10 blocks out, then it becomes very simple for them to understand that I can find equivalents to the base 10 blocks and the money that I've already learned. So you have a number of different ones. When you go to print these off, they are based on the title that you see up here. That's how they've been saved. So it'll tell you that you have a penny, dime, loonie, 5, and 10. That's what's in the placemat. You could just run these off, laminate them so that you can use them over and over again. And then kids can play with them on their desk and do whatever. So they vary in size, they vary in what goes on there. Just looking for, again, places where they can find different combinations of regrouping. And just put a note over here that, remember, $1,000 would be equal to 100,000 cents. If I'm trying to find ways to get to 100,000, okay, that would be one of those pieces. Some of these are very basic. They would be some that would be used by grade 1s because they have to learn the coins as well, and so do kindergarten. So again, that's why I say go visit. They'll have lots of resources we'll be sharing with them. Okay, did we miss anything, Maryann?
Well, the only thing I was thinking when we were going through the math and the games and the new curriculum, a lot of times the kids are required to have a game piece. So I was kind of thinking you could tie it in with art. You could use Model Magic or any kind of supplies to make their own little playing piece for the game. You'd want them to be all different. So again, use the imagination. There's all kinds of things out there, but again, to save time, if they all have a game piece, we don't have to spend time handing that out, and it's just take your kit and go and play.
That's a great idea. Yep, totally forgot. We should have had that on our picture. So good thing for bringing that up. So here's where you're going to find all of the things that we showed you that can be printed. We would just encourage you to, when you get into this link, to go in and just make a copy for yourself, and then use or edit them. I did the cards in Word so that you can go in and edit or add in if you want to add in some more. They're only suggestions, remember, but then it gives you all of the different rulers that we had as well. So again, just go in and grab whatever you need. So hopefully that gives you a good start or an idea of what you might be needing for grade 3 for the new curriculum. If you have any questions, talk to your local ARPDC rep if you're not in our zone, in the CARC zone. Or don't hesitate to connect with either one of us, and we'll be glad to help you out with whatever we can help you out with. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks again.